Luke chapter 1, verses 16 to 17. He will bring back many of the people of Israel to the Lord their God, and he will go on before the Lord in the spirit and power of Elijah, to turn the hearts of the parents to their children, and the disobedient to the wisdom of the righteous, to make ready a people prepared for the Lord.
The area of Suffolk that we live in has a network of small country lanes that spread across the landscape like a web, which means that, even though I've lived here for several years now, I can still get lost. So I can be thinking that I'm heading home, whereas in actual fact I'm heading further away from home in the opposite direction. So if I had to stop the car, turn completely around and go back the other way. Well, that's like what the verses that we just read from Luke are telling us. Zechariah and Elizabeth were about to have a baby called John, and his job was to call people to turn back to God. And that was appropriate because Jesus was about to be born, Jesus who is God with us. And so it was right that they turn back to God. John would call people to turn back to God by preparing their hearts for him and being ready for his coming. Now think of like when the Queen comes to visit a town. A lot of preparations are made, aren't they, to be ready for her visit. They tidy up the rubbish, they put out nice plants, they roll out the red carpet to receive and welcome her. What would it say if they didn't do that? If they weren't bothered about it? Or if they put a very cold reception for the Queen and were really quite inhospitable towards her? Would it actually show that they didn't have any love for her? Maybe even showing that they reject her sovereignty. So John's job was to prepare people so that they were receiving Jesus, receiving him as King, as God, so that they'd be pleasing to him. And that's important because it would show their love for him. And John got very practical about that. He's talking about people who had fallen out with each other being restored, reconciled. He was calling people to stop mistreating one another and instead to be generous towards others. But at the heart of it all is a submission to Jesus as King, to love him, to honour him, to seek to live for him, to live his way. You and I need to be prepared for the Lord too. We're remembering at Christmas his birth, his coming. Is your heart ready for him? You see, we need to be turned around in our lives. We've all headed in the direction away from God, doing our own thing, going our own way. Well, we need to turn around from that and come back to say, Jesus, I'm going to live your way. We also need to be cleaned on the inside so that we start to love him and obey him. Are you wanting to do that? Well, we can't do that on our own, but God is able to do it for us. Jesus is able to set us free from sin and to make us new inside so that we can now start to live for him. He puts the Holy Spirit in our hearts so that we have his power and strength for each day. So ask him to save you and to help you to change.